I know some of you had some concerns over my thesis proposal. I'll be honest, transparent, and I'm open for questioning. I do believe that having the freedom to discuss uncomfortable topics and having opposing viewpoints can build trust as long as we are constructive in the process. I would like to see a more inclusive environment where we can view each other's projects objectively without stifling each other's ideas and imagination. I want to make clear that I'm not in any way trying to be counterproductive to an anti-racist movement. I've advocated for human rights many times. I stood up against homophobic and racist organizations on numerous occasions in the past, and I could have risked my life in doing so. Ask me how if you want to know, but I believe in putting words to action, and I've called out other examples of charity fraud. If I see an injustice, I do what I can to correct it. And this time the target just happens to have an extremely clever disguise that's not like anything we've ever seen. And we're dealing with it at a very complicated time. I've started my first interview, and we've called out the racist Fraternal Order of Police, the homophobic American Family Association. So I'm not only going to alienate some of my friends who think I'm fighting against anti-racism, but I'm also going to upset my Christian friends and my friends who support law enforcement. But I don't think the American Family Association is any more representative of most Christians than the Conscious Kid Library represents people who want racial equality. So, and for those of you who are in revolutionary cinema, when we listened to Harry Gamboa a couple weeks ago, he mentioned the counterintelligence program run by the FBI that they used deceptive methods to intimidate and discredit public figures who were associated with activism, whether they were feminists, Muslims, environmentalists, communists, people associated with the civil rights movement like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And Dr. Seuss upheld these very same ideals prior to and during the civil rights movement. And my claim that I wish to make is that the reason they want him destroyed is not because he was racist, but actually the opposite, because he wasn't. And I'm not against what the Conscious Kid Library claims to stand for. I intend to show that they're not what they appear to be. I know it's going to be difficult to stop them, as most of what they do is performed in secrecy, and they bring in millions of dollars and have millions of supporters. But just like Super Size Me didn't stop people from eating at McDonald's, it did shed light on the company. And the same thing with the Walmart documentary, high cost of low prices. The truth allows us to see the world for what it is, not for what it appears to be. And after seeing and hearing the facts, if you wish to support this organization, that would be your decision. But at least you would be informed. And there's a lot of questions that need to be answered. I think people should be aware of the false data that's being planted in the media. And they're not a credible source of information. From what I've gathered, they apparently have no one's best interest in mind but their own. And furthermore, they take money away from legitimate organizations that are trying to fight for equality. So if a company was claiming to feed starving children, but instead they spent all the money on themselves, I would think that most people would want to know. And freedom of speech outside of the class and inside the class is important to everyone, regardless of race, gender, or religion. It doesn't matter if you're young, old, middle-aged, gay or straight, Republican or Democrat. We should all be allowed to express our opinion and our projects, even if it's an unpopular one. In my opinion, especially if it's an unpopular one. This is VCU. We're the last people on earth who should feel the need to censor ourselves. I've dreamed of coming here for over 20 years because I thought this would be a haven for artists. We should always be constructive to each other's ideas, even if we don't support them. If we don't want to be constructive, we don't have to engage. If the argument in my film or anyone's film doesn't have enough supporting evidence, I would hope that you'd feel free to say this claim needs more evidence. But the bullying and the hate that I've seen in the past 365 days should have no place in this department. And I think that we should all have the ability to enjoy this class. And this is my final statement. I just want to say that there's been a lot of assumptions made, and I hope that I've cleared some of these up today. I have already started interviews. Lastly, I want to make it clear that I'm not trying to center myself or center white people in this conversation. I know that this is news that no one wants to hear, and I want to let you all know that I do not enjoy delivering it. I just feel that I have a responsibility to reveal the truth. And this is not the same story that's being used in the media as a political tool. This is based on my own research, and I'm open for question. So I want to extend friendship to everyone, and I hope we can provide a better understanding in the future.